Hi, I'm Donna Jordan from Jordan Fabrics. Today we're going to make the Shining Stars table runner, and we need some supplies, so let's head down to the store. We're going to need 2 packs of charm squares. We're going to need 1 package of colorful charms. So I'm going to use Nature's Glory. It has a lot of different colors. Then we need 1 package of almost plain, or you could use plain. I'm going to use these grunge squares. The only other thing we need is some backing and border fabric. I'm going to use this print right here. I think that will frame everything nicely. So we're going to need 2 yards, 2 charms, and we're ready to go. The first step is to open up our dark printed squares and sort them out. We want 12 really dark ones and 12 medium. So the 12 dark squares, those are going to be the points of the star. And then the more medium colored prints, those are going to be in the center of the star and way out towards the edges. So those are good dark ones. Those are all good. And I need a total of 12. We're not going to use these light ones now. We're going to save them for another project. This would be a medium. So we'll put the mediums here, keep our darks here. I have my fabric separated. These are my darks. These are my mediums, and we are going to make some half square triangles. We're going to make half square triangles with those guys, and we're going to make half square triangles with those guys, and then we're going to put these together and make half square triangles, and we're going to leave these alone. So let's start with this group here. So we're going to make half square triangles, and this is my background and my medium. Now that green, it's a little on the dark side, but we are designating it as the medium in our blocks. So we're going to draw a line right along the diagonal of the backside of all of these light ones, and then we'll take them over to the sewing machine along with the greens. To make our half square triangles, we're going to sew a 1/4 inch away from our drawn line on both sides. Now you'll notice that one of my squares is cut with those pink edges, and one of them is not, but they're about the same size, so it's still pretty easy to stitch them together. I like to iron these before I cut them in half, because sometimes your stitching will pucker up just a teeny bit. So a quick ironing, then we'll take it over to the cutting board, and we are going to cut it right along that line that we drew. Now we're going to take these back to the ironing board, and we're going to iron them open. So I like to put the light color down on the board, open it up so that that seam allowance is going towards the dark side, and pat it a little with your hand so you know it's nice and square and flat. Then iron it, first without steam, then with a little. Now that these are done, we're going to take all the rest of our squares and make half square triangles with all of them. All of the half square triangles are all finished, and I've got all the dog ears trimmed off, and we are going to be mixing these blocks with some of these plain squares that we had. Now when you make half square triangles, they end up 3/8 of an inch smaller than the squares you started with. So I need to trim these down so that they will be the same size. So I need to cut these squares down to 4 5/8 inches, and then they will be the same size as our half square triangles. These are now the same size as the half square triangle blocks. And this is all we need to stitch together. It's just these 4 blocks. We're going to make a number of these, and then believe it or not, when we put them all together, we will make a star. Here's how I like to sew these blocks together. I'm going to take these top 2, and they're going to go right sides together. Then I'm going to grab the next 2, and they're going to go right sides together right below it. So I'm going to just sew down this side. I'm going to line everything up. Now, since I ironed everything to the dark side, the seam allowances are nesting there, so it makes it real easy to sew these 2 blocks together. And we're going to leave this on the machine. We're just going to leave it there, slide this over, line everything up, and stitch it also. Now I'm going to open these up, and I'm going to finger press this top seam to the left. So I'm going to use my fingernail or the pad of my finger to just open that up. Now this bottom seam allowance we want to the right. Now we're just going to put those right sides together, match everything up, and stitch this last seam. Now we want to finger press this towards this side here. Again, I'm just using my fingernail or the pad of my finger, and that will make it very easy to iron afterwards. Here are 4 of the blocks all done. So now we can see what the star looks like. We are just going to spin these around. So now we're starting to see a star. There we go. Once we get these sewn together, we have a nice big star in the middle. So we're going to make 3 of these big stars and put them together for the runner top. I have the blocks all sewn together. Now we're going to work on the borders, binding, backing. The first thing I'm going to cut from my 2 yards here is some binding pieces. I'm going to need 4 pieces of binding, and I like to do my binding 2.5 inches wide. Now we're going to set the binding aside because of course we don't need it till the runner is done. From the piece that's left over, I'm going to want to get my borders and back, and I need long borders, so I'm not going to cut them width of the fabric. I'm going to cut them the long way. So I'm going to open this up and fold it the other way. And then I'm going to cut 3 long borders that are 2 inches wide, and then the whole big scrap that's left will be for our backing. Now I'm going to cut off some here from the selvage. I have kind of a large selvage. You can't see it very well, but there's little holes in the selvage. So it may look like I'm cutting off quite a bit, but I want to make sure none of that ends up in my borders. So I'm going to cut a big section off here. Now I'm going to cut 2-inch borders. Now these 2 long borders here will go on the 2 long sides of the runner, and then this guy I'm just going to cut it in half, and then we can use half on each end of the short sides of the runner. We've got all of this left over for the back, no seams, a great big piece. We could put it on the quilting machine, or we could do it on our regular home machine. I decided to put the runner on the long arm. This is a small enough project that you could quilt it easily on your home machine. But since I have the long arm, I like to use it a lot. Now here's some thread options here. I thought I might use a darker thread, like the brown, so we could have a little more of the quilting showing. But now that I've got these here, I think the gold will show a little bit, but not fight too much with these dark areas. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to quilt this in a pattern called Chestnut Swirls. It's pretty small, but I like a smaller quilting pattern on a table runner. So it's all ready to go, and all I have to do is press start. So when I press the button here, it's going to travel to the starting spot right over here. Then it's going to take 1 stitch so we can grab our bobbin thread. Once we have the bobbin up, we press go and just let the machine do the work. I had a lot of fun making this star runner. I really like how the stars look like they're twisting. They're very bold and they just really stand out nicely. And it was so fast, and it just took those 2 different packs of charms, the colors, the background, 2 yards. I've got the same binding as border here, same fabric on the back, really fun and really fast. Thanks for watching our tutorial today on how to make the star runner. We hope you enjoyed it. Happy quilting!